Good morning, students. See, in the last lecture, we had discussed William Shakespeare's poem, All the World is a Stage. Now, today, we are going to discuss John Keats and his a very beautiful poem, La Belle Dame Sans Mercy. Before we start the poem and its discussion, let's take a look on John Keats. Who was John Keats? What do you know about John Keats? See, John Keats uh, who's, uh, who took birth on 21st October 1795. He was treated as an English romantic poet. He was one of the main figures of the second generation of romantic poets, along with Lord Byron, P.B. Shelley, and so other colleagues. Despite his works have been in publication for only 4 years before his death from tuberculosis at the age of only 25. Means what? He died of tuberculosis, means TB, at the age of only 25. So you can see this is the beautiful picture of this person, John Keats. Okay, and John Keats, you can see, although his poems were not generally well received by critics during his lifetime, his reputation grew after his death. And you see, it is very unfortunate for this person because when he was alive, he didn't get any kind of popularity or fame. But after his death, he got enormous popularity in the field of English poets. Okay, he had a significant influence on diverse range of poets and writers. The poetry of Keats is characterized by a style, just characterized by style heavily loaded with sensualities, most notable in the series of odes. And if we take a look on biography of this person, early life of John Keats was, he born in London, to the Thames, to the Thomas Keats and his wife Frances Jennings. There is a little evidence of his exact birthplace. So John Keats, from his childhood, his parents were unable to afford a turn to Harrow, and so in the summer of 1803, he was sent to the board of John Clark's school in Enfield. And after that, young John Keats was described by his friend Edward Holmes, a volatile character, always in extremes. So in April 1804, John Keats was 8. His father died from a skull fracture suffered when he fell from his horse while returning from a visit to Keats and his brother George at school. So it was very unfortunate for John Keats that when he was at the age of 8, he lost his father. So in the earlier character, you can earlier career, you can see from 1814, Keats had two buckets held in trust for him until the 21st birthday. So you can see when John Keats, uh, Clark introduced Keats to the influential Light Hunt, a close friend of Byron and Shelley. 5 months later came the publication of poems, the first volume of Keats' verse, which includes I Stood Tiptoe and Sleep and Poetry, both strongly influenced by Hunt. So automatically, slowly and slowly, John Keats he turned to write poems. He started publishing poems, and you see, in um, yes, on 11th April 1880, Keats reported that he and Coleridge has a long walk together on Hampstead Heath. In a letter to his brother George, Keats wrote that they talked about 1,000 things: Nightingale, poetry, poetical sensation, metaphysics. Around his time, he was introduced to Charles Dilke and James Rice. So number of writers, poets became his friends, and now he got a very good company of writers. So this is little introduction about John Keats. We will not go in a deep. And you see, before we start this poem, you can see La Bele Dame Sans Mercy. So what is this poem about? La Bele Dame Sans Mercy. See, um, just like you can have a synopsis. You see, this poem is considered as a ballad, and it is an English classic in the poem of example of Keats' poetic preoccupation with love and death. The poem is about fairy who condemns a knight to an unpleasant fate after she seduces him with her eyes and singing. The fairy inspired several artists to paint images that become early example of 19th century female fatal iconography. So you see, the poem is simple in a structure with 12 stanzas. There are 12 stanzas in this poem of 4 lines each in A B C D rhyme scheme. It employs brachicatalectic metric. So you can see here the origin version is at one side and the revised version is on another side. So there is a little change between these two examples. And now uh, let me tell you about a very interesting summary of this poem, that a knight, a baron, fall in love with a very beautiful lady. She is a mystic lady, you can say. That is mystic lady, and that mystic lady, with her magical powers, she forced that knight to fall in love with her. And when this knight was under her magical enchanted power, uh, he forgot everything, and so he forgot the material world, he forgot everything, and just he remembered that lady and beautiful talks with her. So now, you see, this poem, um, so now we will discuss the poem stanza by stanza. Let us see. The few first stanzas are here. La Belle Dame Sans Mercy, a ballad written by John Keats. See, oh, see first line. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, alone and palely loitering? A sage has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. So the sage means, you see, a grass-like or rush-like plant that grows in the wet areas, somewhere at the highest peak of the mountains. Okay, so you can see, oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, alone the palely loitering. The sage has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. So a very mystic condition is described in these 4 lines. And see, uh, the grass is grown on that highest peak of the mountain area, but there is no bird to sing there. Greenery is there, but there is no bird, and so that's why it is very mystic. See the second stanza. You see here, um, uh, oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, so haggard and so woe-begone? The squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest's done. So here you can see that the word is haggard, means a kind of wild looking. So woe-begone means kind of to happen, to occur. Uh, so who began? See, Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, so haggard and so woe begone? The squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest is done. The third stanza is here. I see a lily on thy brow, with anguish moist and fewer dews, and on thy cheeks a fading rose, fast withering too. So, a very beautiful stanzas are here. These three stanzas are here, and you will go to a particular, a mystic atmosphere. You will sense mystic atmosphere described in these three stanzas. So, in the first three stanzas, so there is a sad and lonely knight who is loitering on hillside, who is encountered by a traveler, the speaker, who asks him what is wrong. The knight is visibly sick, sweating, and turning pale. So, you see, in the first three stanzas, the mystic atmosphere is described. In that mystic atmosphere, the knight is, so you can see in the three stanzas there is a description of that knight. That knight means that baron is very weak, in a very pathetic condition, and a wanderer, a speaker came, went on that mountain area when he saw that knight is in very pathetic condition. That knight or that baron was alone there in that lonely area. What was wrong with that? So speaker asked him, what is wrong with you? So it was, unrecognizable for speaker, and for baron also, that might also, because that we know the background, we know the synopsis of the poem, that baron or that knight, he survived in a mystic atmosphere. So now, when it is something like, a suspense story. Uh, when we meet a suspense character somewhere, walking along the road, and we ask that person what happened with you, and so he narrates a story. In a similar way, now the baron will narrate his story. So again, you see, you can feel here the, mystic atmosphere. So in next stanzas, now when the speaker asked to the baron what happened to you, now the baron start revealing a whole matter. So in the first stanza he says, the baron or that knight says, "Oh, I met a lady in the midst, full beautiful, a fairy's child. Her hair was long, her foot was light, and her eyes were wild." So, in this stanza, this person or this baron or this knight is describing the mystic lady. He says that I met a lady in these meads. In these meads means what? The meadows or on this mountain area. That mountain area is full of mysticism, full of supernatural elements are there. So he says, I met a lady in the midst. She was very very beautiful. She was like, she was so beautiful that she was like just a fairy, or someone she belongs to somewhere, someone from heaven. Her hair was so long. Her hair was long, and her foot was, so wide that it was similar to light, and her eyes were wild. But her eyes were wild. Her eyes were wild means what? Her eyes were also so beautiful that it were similar to the wildness. And again, in the next stanza, he says, I made a garland for her head, and bracelet too, and fragrant zone. She looked at me, and she did love, and made sweet moan. And so when I fall in love with that lady, she was around me. I made garland for her head. Garland means a kind of, um, we know in traditionally we use full mala. In a similar way, he made a garland for her head, It was the garland is very similar to thorn, that is the throne, so similar to throne. So he made a garland for her head and bracelets too. So that knight made garland for her. He made a bracelet for her and a fragrant zone, and it was a very fragrant zone. She looked at me and she did love. She looked at me. When Baron says, then she looked at me, it seemed to me that she fall in love with me. She looked at me and she did love. So she fall in love with me, and it was a very mystic condition, and made a sweet moan. And it is now made a sweet moan means what? Compare Virgin Choir to make a delicious moan from Ode to Psyche, written between April 22 to 30. Note by John Barman, John Keats, the complete poem. So, made sweet moan means compare Virgin Choir to make a delicious moan. So it was something like that. For the first time, she is devoting herself for me. For the first time, people when they fall in love, it seems that their true feeling for the first time they have expressing their true feeling for them for each other. So in a similar way, she looked at the Baron and she fall in love with Baron and she started loving that Baron. Okay, so this is what I wanted to discuss regarding this poem in this lecture. So we will stop here for today. The next part of the poem will be discussed in the next lecture. Thank you very much. But before going to another lecture, just mention your name in the comment box. It will be used as your presentee. Okay, thank you.